So each person has a part, and so it doesn't matter if you have 6 members, don't matter if you have 6,000 members. Everybody has a role that they're supposed to play in the building of the kingdom. And so you have to be careful. You have to be careful sometimes in the way that you apply this, because sometimes we can affect how the church is viewed.
All right.
Y'all catch that later. So it says, listen. So if you begin to look at just do it. He called us not to be just hearers of the word, but doers of the word. So it's not enough for me just to come and sit on the pews every Sunday morning. It's not just enough for me to come to Sunday school and Wednesday night Bible study. But when I leave here, I should be able to see a difference. I should be able to apply the teaching to my life. There's some people who just come and sit in the building and think that that's going to be enough to save them. But the building is just not enough. It's some action that you have to put into. You got to be able to do it. Watch it. Nike has a slogan. That's their slogan. Just do it. But what were they talking about? They were doing something that was universal, something that could be applied and everybody could relate to. So they had to come up with a slogan. Nobody really knows what it means. But when you think about it, it's simple. Just do it. But what are you just doing? The thing is that when you're a Christian, you're doing whatever the word says. So this is it. So this first point, you have to have the right foundation.
Amen.
And if you start thinking about here, in Matthew, the 16th chapter, here it is that Jesus came to a region called Caesarea Philippi. And he asked them, he said, who do men say I am? Well, the disciples, he asked this to. The disciples, not just anybody, his disciples, people who follow him, people who should have known the answer to this. This is who he asked this to. He said, who do men say I am? They began to name off all these other prophets. They said, some say you're Elijah, some say you're Jeremiah, or one of the other prophets. He said, but who do you say I am? I wonder if we begin to think about it. Can we tell people who Christ really is? That tells what kind of building we have. So if you can't tell nobody how Jesus is for you, you probably shouldn't be. You probably just one of the people who are hearers of the word. But you should be able, just like Simon spoke up and said, you are the living God. That's what he told him. He said, you're the son of the living God. And he said, Simon Peter, he said, flesh and blood has not revealed it to you. But he said it was by the Spirit. So you have to understand. So he said, you have to understand the foundation that you have. And even if you look over into Luke chapter 6, you'll begin to find Jesus as he preaching his sermon on the mountain. He's still talking to his disciples. Not just anybody, just talking to his disciples. He had given them the beatitude. He had given them, told them not to judge people. And that's a part of being a part of the church. He told them not to judge people. But now he skipped down to tell them. He said, you need to be not just hearers of the word, but doers of the word. He said, if not, you're going to be like a man who dug his house. He said, watch this. And he said, but the flood came. And when the flood came and beat against his house, the man who built his house on a rock. He said his house stood, but the man who built his house on shaky ground. When the flood came, he said his house began to fall. So you have to have the right foundation, because think about a foundation. A foundation is what your house is built on. So how good your foundation is affects how the structure of the whole house is. So you'll find in your own house that if you go home or you go back to your apartment, wherever you might live, wherever you might stay, wherever you lay your head at, if you go back to your own house, you begin to find that sometimes you get some cracks in the wall, sometimes your light begin to lean, your floor begin to swoop. It ain't even as it used to be. And sometimes over time it just begins to do that because there's a problem with the foundation.
All right now.
Christians are the same way. You'll find some flaw is a Christian. But you understand why I'm saying this, because Jesus told them that people would know you by the fruit that you bear. And some people who are supposed to be orange trees, but you're growing apples, and people can see the fruit that you have. So it's something wrong with the foundation. Something wrong with you. So you got to understand there's nothing wrong with Jesus, but the problem is with you. So you got to understand that in order for us to be people of God, God is looking, He's calling for us to be good builders. It's not enough for us just to come to the building, but when we leave outside of here, we still should be recruiting souls. We still should be telling people about the saving God. We still should be trying to add to the body of Christ. Some people just come here and they want to warm up the seat. They want to look good, so people can see what they have on, so people can say that, oh, you look good. Your hair look good today. You dress nice. Your hair look good. But God is not calling for you to do that. He's calling for somebody who's going to be doers of His word. Faith without works is dead. Y'all know it. So there's some types of foundations that we have. There's shallow foundation, and then there's deep foundation. So the basic of this is that you have to dig so far into the soil in order to have a good base for your foundation. So this is what the rest of the house is built on. So if you have a bad foundation, don't you know that when something comes, the house will begin to fall. So a shallow foundation is used for small buildings. You can't build a small house on a deep foundation. They don't work like that. You can't build a big, tall sky riser on a small, shallow foundation. So you got to be careful what kind of foundation you have. So the other thing about this is that in order for us to be doers of God, we have to maintain the maintenance that He's enlisted us with, what He's left us in charge of. We have to maintain maintenance. Maintenance is something that we don't like to do. It's just like people with a car. Sometimes you just want to drive the car, don't want to get no maintenance. You can't drive a car, but you don't never get no oil change. You cannot drive a car and then your tires get messed up. You think it's going to keep on driving. You have to maintain maintenance on what God has entrusted you with. So God did not give you the building. He did not just give you the building for you to sit here and have no maintenance. Because I've seen plenty of nice houses that become dilapidated because nobody maintained maintenance. So nobody was looking after it. So then it began to mess up all around it. So you have to be careful of how you maintain your maintenance. You have to be careful of how you preserve things, because God is entrusting you with it. So it is that if you look at property value, even property value, it depends on your maintenance. Your property value will go down if you don't have maintenance. If you don't put flowers in front of your house, if you don't paint your house, if you don't fix your plumbing, your property value is going to go down. So you got to maintain your maintenance. You have to have the right foundation. But then the second point is you have to be a doer. So this is what God is calling for us to be. You got to be doers in this time. So not just hearing it, but also doing it. So in James 1st chapter 22, he said, be ye doers of the word. He said that not only hearers, because if you are, you're deceiving your own selves. And a lot of people, you think just because you come into the building and you're doing no maintenance, you're thinking that you're deceiving people, but you're really just deceiving your own self. Because God knows you. He knows you by the fruit that you bear. You may be good at tricking people, but when it comes to the end, you can't trick God. So the problem with Christians, the problem with us is that we become we become good in our place, and we become complacent, and we're accepting just being good enough, and that's not good for us. And some people just want to be stationary, but God is calling for us to be more. So you just can't expect to be saying, well, I got this many people and it's going to be good enough for me. But no, God is calling you to call more people to the body of Christ. And I would be remiss if God did, if He called you, I'm pretty sure He asked you to go out into the world. That was one of the commissions. He said, go out into all nations. He said, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you. He said, lo, I will be with you even unto the end of the earth. So you got to understand that if he commissioned you to do that, you can't just sit inside of the building. Even though it may be comfortable, even though it may be good in here, you can't just sit inside of the building without doing the work on as a people of God. So you had to be a doer. You had to be a doer of the word, not just hearing the word. So here it is. This third point is you have to be built on the rock. Understand what Jesus was saying here in Matthew 16 when he was talking to Peter. He said, and also I said to you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades should not, or the gates of hell should not prevail against it. So understand, he changed Peter's name. He changed his name of Simon to Peter. And he said, listen, this is basically mean that he was a stone. But you got to understand what he was saying. Because if you don't get it now, you'll catch it when you get home. When he said that he was a stone, he was just saying this. I'm the rock, but you're a stone. But a stone is cut from the rock. You got to understand that. So a lot of us, some people get positions and get stuff, they think that they're the rock. But you're going to miss a lot of people if you ain't built on Jesus. You got to understand, there have been a lot of churches built. There have been a lot of churches that pop up in the community. But because they were not built on the rock, they quickly failed. But when you found it on Jesus, 60 years later, you can still stand. I ain't telling you what I heard, but I'm telling you something that I know. So you got to be built. You have to be built on the rock. So we got to understand our place. You got, as a preacher used to say, you got to find your place, get in your place, and then stay in your place. So as a stone, you just cut from the rock. And what God is calling for us to be is building blocks. He's not calling for you to be the only person in this position. He's not calling for you to be authority figure over these people, but he's calling for you to be a stone. Now, the stone is going to just add more pieces to the body. So it is this is signaling Christ. And then if you look at rock is translated back to mountain. And you already know what a mountain is. The mountain is unmovable. And so it is that we know that the Lord is unmovable. I don't know if you ever tried him for yourself, but I know he is unmovable. I don't know how many tried him, but I know he's a rock in my life. When things begin to happen, I know he's a rock in my life that when storms come, that because I'm built on a rock. Somebody say, I can't be moved. But the rock, we understand that the rock is Jesus. So then this is what he's saying with this fourth point, is your foundation will be tested. He said that here in Luke, the 6th chapter, verse 48, he said he is like a man who built his house, who dug deep and laid a foundation on the rock. But when the flood came, it said that the water burst against the house and could not shake it because it had been well built. You got to understand that sometimes in your life you're going to encounter some storms, and sometimes in your life you're going to encounter some situations, but if you build on the right foundation, even though it's tested, it'll still stand after the storm. So I understand that it pays off not to just be a hearer of the word, but it pays off to be a doer of the word, because even though I'm tested, I know I can go to apply these words to my life, and I know it'll stand. And after the storm is gone, I may look at my neighbor's house and it may be gone. I may look at my friend's house and it may be gone. But because I was built on the rock, I'm still standing on today. So sometimes, being in South Mississippi, we have some hurricanes down here. It gets real violent, and we board up our houses and go get water and all this other stuff. But with a hurricane, even with that, it can still knock down your house. But there are some people whose house stand because they got a collapse. Because there's a problem with the foundation. So if you have problems with the foundation, even a small rain can cause for your roof to cave in. But even if you look at the flood sometimes, the water may rise and you may get some water damage in your house. But it'll still stand as long as you got a good foundation. I've even seen people in the tornado the house is still standing Because they had a good foundation. So you understand, this is what he was saying, that you may, this is just like you being a hearer of the word, but not a doer. He said the man who built it on shaky ground, he was just a hearer. He's the one who came and sat on the front row every Sunday. He just heard what was said, but when he went out, he forgot he was raising sand. Everybody was cussing at everybody. He was doing whatever he wanted to do, so he wasn't a doer of the word. Y'all ain't with me this morning. It's dead in here. So he understood that he was he might have came and been a member, but he wasn't a doer of the word. So it is that when the foundation was set, it failed because it wasn't built on nothing. But because I'm built on the rock, that even when my kids are acting up, even when I get a bad diagnosis, because I'm built on the rock, I know the rock will sustain me. I know that my house can last. So this final point is you have to be built to last. As I look at the thing and I see past, present, and future, she talked about how her father began to preach under a tree. And they talked about how it progressed. They built this building. And I see they were still adding stuff onto them. But if you want to be around another 60 years, you got to continue to do what God tells you to do. It's not good enough just to hear what he says. But I have to put some action behind it. He'll give you a vision all day, but if you don't have any action behind it, then how can his vision be put into play? There's some people who receive visions for God, but they'll stay in the same situation they're in. They'll stay in the same place and they'll never grow because they have no action behind it. There's many churches who still complacent and they're good enough and they say we glad with the number we have, but you never become good enough because you can always improve on something. I don't care how good, I don't care how big your membership is, because I guarantee that T.D. Jakes is still trying to grow his church too.
Amen.
But you have to stand on something. It's not good enough just for us to come here and expect not to be better people. So the building is good. But even in your life, you need to be better than you were before. There's people who've been saved for 20, 30 years, but you still ain't good enough. You still should be trying to improve on something. If you can't find something to improve on, you say, God, what can I improve on? Because I believe that if he examines you, he'll find something that you can improve on. He said those who thought they were making it in there barely making it in. So that means to tell me that I can improve on something. But if I'm built on the rock, I know I can get a little bit better. So if I'm looking at it, Ephesians 2, verse 20 through 21 begins to talk about a foundation. He said the apostles and prophets, he said, haven't been built on the foundation of apostles and prophets. So you've been built on other people, but now it's your time to add to it. It's your time to add to the body. It's your time to do better than they did before. So that somebody started Savannah Grove. But right now I'm not becoming complacent where I'm at. But it's time for me in the future to get better. So you should be able to identify something. But then he said Jesus himself, being the chief cornerstone. He said, in whom the whole building being fitted together grows into a holy temple in the Lord. Watch this. What is a cornerstone? If you begin to think about a cornerstone is what holds the foundation together. It's the thing that's the biggest block in the corner of it that begins to hold the whole body together. So you got to understand that in your position, you need to find what your part is. And let Jesus be the cornerstone. And when Jesus is the cornerstone, I begin that he'll hold us together if you let him. So a cornerstone is the largest and most solid of the rocks. But then it's also the most carefully constructed. You got to understand about Jesus. But if you begin to look at your theme of past, present, and future, that's just comparing your era. So where are you in the past? Where are you right now? And how can I improve for the future? So I understand that the past might have been good. I understand that area might have been good for them. But right now in the present, what can I do to improve the body of Christ? How can I become better? We should all ask ourselves how we can become better. Because with the cornerstone, He said that we're all foreigners in this land. But when we come together, how many know that the body can become a great place? So as you look at it, he said, I am the chief cornerstone. So this is a problem with us that everyone wants to make up the building when he's asking just for us to be building blocks. So, too many chiefs said, not enough Indians. He just said he was the chief cornerstone. That's right. But we want to come in and be the chief. That's right. But he's asking you to, whatever you can do in your position, whatever you can do to make the body better, that's what you need. If you need to play the piano, do that. If you need to pray when somebody needs to pray, then do that. Don't worry about what nobody else is doing, but worry about what your block is doing. You'll never become better worrying about somebody else's block. But when you focus on yourself, I believe that we can all grow together. Amen. So is there anybody here on today that feels just like you need to be a doer of the word? Yes, not just hearing what Christ is saying, but being a doer of the word. Amen. And I believe that here at Savannah Grove, that you've been built to last. Amen. Why you say that, preacher? Because you've been standing for over 60 years. And I know that if it had not been for God, you would have been fallen, you would have been taken over. But because he been built on the rock, I believe that Savannah Grove is still standing. Is there anybody here on today that just praise God and thank him just for being here for 60 years? I'm glad that God is keeping me on today. And if you would just stay steadfast and unmovable, I believe that God can grow you even into the future. So is there anybody here on today that feels like you can always do better? Well, I'm telling you on today, don't just hear, but just do it. But when you're down in your sin and you feel like there's no way out, Christ is saying just do it on today. There's nothing wrong with coming to Jesus. I believe on today you've been built on a solid rock. Well, I preach to myself on today, but I can get happy because for 60 years you've been built on something. You've been built on a solid rock. How I know you've been built on a rock? Because for over 2,000 years ago, Christ came down and he came down in sin's place. And not only that, but they beat him all night long. They said they whipped him all night long. But by his stripes we were healed on today. I'm talking about the chief cornerstone. But I believe that somebody said that they placed him in an old borrowed tomb. And when they placed him in a borrowed tomb, they said he stayed there the first day. They said he stayed there the second day. But somebody said that early the third day morning, he got up with all power in his hand. So I know I'm built on something. I thank God on today that Savannah Grove may have had some ups and some downs. Sometimes you had to go through hell and high water. But I thank God that you were built on the rock. Is there anybody here on today? The song says I can go to the rock when I can't go to nobody else. Well, when you try Jesus on today, how many know he is alright? Is there anybody here on today know that the church has been built to last? Is there anybody here on today that know that you've been built to last? Somebody say, what have you been built on? Well, I go to the rock. I go to the rock of salvation. The rock in the weary land. The one where it feels like I'm about to fall. The one where the wind starts to blow. The one where the rain starts falling. When it's hell all in my life. That's who I go to. I go to the rock. And I'm still standing on today. Not by my own might, but because I'm standing on the rock. Somebody look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I got a good foundation. I don't know about you, but I'm built on the rock. Is there anybody here that's been built on the rock? But stand to your feet and give God some praise on today for being on the rock. I don't know about you, but I didn't just hear the word. But I thank God that I'm doing the word. When it gets a little hard in my life, when it gets a little rough in my life, when I have no money to my name, when it seems like there's no way out, they can. It's just like Allstate. They say you're in good hands. But I'm on the rock, and I'm standing on today because I've been built on the rock. Somebody say, I've been built on the rock. That's the one who got up over 2,000 years ago with all power in his hand. I've been built on the rock. Hallelujah. Somebody say, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. I've been built on the rock. Savannah Grove, you've been built to last. Started with the founder, Reverend Doers. But now you're here under the leadership of Pastor Oliver. But now nobody knows what happens in the future. That's right. But God is saying, because you have a solid foundation, the stuff that I heard, that means you got a solid foundation. Sound like a man who was guided by a vision from God. As long as you have a vision, you need to follow it. Not good enough just to be hearers, but also doers. So he was calling the body of Christ here. He said, now one key thing he said to Peter, he said that the gates of hell should not prevail against it. So a lot of things are going to come up against the church. A lot of things are going to come up against you. But because you're built on the rock, when the hell comes, when people get on your trail, just go to the rock. Because nobody can save you like he can. And they won't be able to prosper because you build on the rock. So here it is that Peter wasn't just a hearer of the word, but he was also a doer of the word. And he was calling him the rock. And saying he was going to be built on the rock because he understood that the body of Christ was going to be grown under Peter. So you got to understand, we got to better ourselves. As a body of Christ, we're not just individual, but everybody comes together to do a part. And the quickest way for a church to fail is when you got too many chiefs.
All right.
Not enough Indians.
All right.
I can't have a cornerstone there, and then over here, and then back there. And then I'm built on the pastor, but I'm built on the rock. I'm built on Jesus. The pastor is good in this place. But the pastor is sent from God. You were called by God. He saved you. And because he saved you, you need to do better. Don't just hear, to be doers. And I believe that in the future, if you just do what God says, that Savannah Grove can be called great in this community. Thank God for the rock. We're standing across the building.